Hello, it's Dr. Matt. Welcome to the third and final part of the Coticule honing series. What I wanted to talk about on this part is maxing out the Coticule, how to take your stone just a little bit further if that's what you desire. We'll start with these three things. These are probably the most common things that people will use to take their stone just a little bit further. And these three things are what I call collectively as hydroplane methods, okay? Because what it does is just kind of lifts the edge off a little bit off the stone, so just the edges of that stone tickle the edge of your razor and just polish it up, okay? The first one is an oil. There's oil that you can use. This is a Norton honing oil. I've seen people use vegetable oil, whatever. I think that they all work. Oil does work. I've used them on Coticules before. I'm not a big fan of it only because it tends to be messy. You have to clean the stone, you have to clean the razor, your workspace, the sink. It tends to drag the oil onto the strop, but it does work well. And also, for some reason, this seems to be controversial as far as using oil on a Coticule. A friend of mine was banned from one of the boards for even talking about it. Some people say that oil will damage a Coticule, that you shouldn't put it on there, that it can cause a problem. I don't know. I mean, these stones have taken 1 million years to form inside the earth under extreme heat and pressure. I can't imagine that a little bit of oil on them would damage them, but I guess I could be wrong. All right, the next one is Smith's honing solution. You can pretty much get this at any Lowe's. This stuff works really well. It's slippery just like the oil, except it's water soluble. I think it's like a glycerin base, maybe with some soap in it. That one works real well. I probably use that one most if I do decide to max out a stone. The difference between that and the oil, I don't think there's too much difference there. The other one is just dish soap. I've heard people use dish soap. I've tried using dish soap. It works. I've also heard people use just lather, you know, from their brush. They put lather on the stone. It's just the soap and it's just a hydroplane technique. Also, if you saw my technique video where I actually honed a razor on the Coticule, I finished under running water. Now, some people will consider that in itself maxing out the stone. They do the work on their bench and then they take it to under running water to max it out. So that in itself could be considered maxing it out. Another technique of maxing out that I kind of stumbled across is stropping. What I did is I have a stone that when honing on it, I talked about when you finish, it gets real sticky. Well, this particular stone, the razor wouldn't get real sticky, not like my other stones. And I just figured, well, that was a characteristic of that particular stone. So I finished on it. I went to strop it as I usually do. And then I looked at it under the scope and there was something that I saw that I didn't really like. I said, oh, I need to take it back to the stone. And when I took it back to the stone and I did some passes for a minute or two, wow, all of a sudden it got really sticky like it never had before. And I realized at that point is that was another technique for maxing it out. In fact, I went and I looked at it under the scope and it did definitely refine the edge even that much more. So that in itself is a technique. I don't know that I discovered that when I talked to some other people since and they said that they have heard of that or used it themselves. But that's a good technique. Now, the final one I wanted to talk about, some people may not consider this legitimate or cheating, but it's using one of these. This is a translucent arc. A friend of mine shared this with me, and this is really huge. After being done on a Coticule, if you want to just add it a little bit more, you run the edge on this translucent arc. I do mine under running water, but it gives you just that little bit of extra. I used to be the school of thought that your edge was whatever the last stone was that touched. I've heard people honing on Coticules and then they finish on a J-nat. As far as I'm concerned, that's a J-nat finish. What came before it didn't really matter. So with that type of thinking, you would say, well, then you're creating a translucent arc edge. Not really, because this thing is not aggressive enough to change that edge that's already there and convert it to this. In fact, when I look at the edge after using the translucent arc and I look at it under the scope, I really can't tell the difference from before and after. It doesn't change much. It makes the edge a little bit darker, which means it's burnishing. It just polishes it a little bit. You know, I really thought that if I had an edge that wasn't too good and I take the arc and I run it on there, that it would bail me out of a not very good hone job. It doesn't do that. So it's not that much. It's 1% or less, but it's actually really cool. So if you haven't tried that, think about that. Also what I want to say about this is if you want to take and mix it, if you want to use the arc and then do some of the Smith's maxing out stone, that kind of works. You can play with that stuff. I don't have any one of these techniques that I think are absolute. You know, different razors and different stones, different things work better on them. So try some of them, try different combinations. Let me know how it works. Put some comments down there. Email me, drmatt357@hotmail.com. I appreciate you watching. If you made it through the whole series, I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day.